So, good morning, everyone. My name is Ian Joshua Sanyel, and my topic for today is all about on how the global divide developed. There are several factors on how the global divide developed, and one of those is historical. When we say historical, it's all about colonialism and imperialism. The legacy of colonialism and imperialism has left many regions of the world with underdeveloped infrastructure, limited access to resources, and political instability, and even economic factors. So when we look on the history or in history books, there are several countries that belong on the north that tried to expand their empires and expand their influence. And the examples of these countries, which are the United Kingdom, the Portugal, the Spain, the U.S., and Japan. During the 16th to 17th century, the Portugal, the Spain, and United Kingdom had tried to outdone themselves. They tried to establish trade routes within the Asian countries so that they could access the nearly unlimited resources on spices, which is very valuable in the European countries, um, such a, and other resources such as um, metals such as the gold, silver, and even the iron, which is very important at the time. So there are several countries in the Asian continent had been subjected into colonialism and imperialism, and such as Philippines, which is us, Thailand, India, Indonesia, and even Taiwan, which is part of China at the time. So in our case, we have been colonized by the Spaniards for over 333 years. And during that time, we are subjected in unfair treatment by the Spaniards. One of those is the monopoly system. The Spaniard tried to monopolize our resources here in the Philippines, such as sugars, spices, important metals such as gold, silver, iron, and even as humans, we have been subjected into slavery and forced works to work on haciendas by the powerful and rich Spaniard who stayed here in the Philippines. And during that time, our country did not experience freedom when it comes to our resources. Our resources had been used to amplified and used by the Spaniards to progress their own country rather than us. And when the Spaniard had been pushed away by the Americans, our country had been left in shambles or in a very weak state. Even though we tried to reestablish our own country, we did not have the means or the resources to establish our own country. That is why our progress here in the Philippines had been very slow or had been stagnant for a few decades after that. And after the Americans had settled here in the Philippines during the World War II, we had been subjected into imperialism and colonization again by the Japanese. The Japanese also extorted us for our own resources. And after the World War II, we have been struggling since then to reestablish our own country from the shambles by the unfair treatment they had left us. So that is all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Cadet Roland Rizzo. My topic is technology. Technology is the prioritized in access to technology, particularly the internet and modern communication tools have widening global divide. Many people in developing countries lack access to reliable internet connection and modern device. Technological advancement is rapid of technological advancement have favored countries and regions which the resources and infrastructure to adapt the new technologies leaving other behind.
Educations. Education unequal access to quality educations and educational resources perpetuates the global divide. Inadequate schooling in some regions limits opportunities for social and economic mobility. The education divide refers to the disparities in access to quality educations and educational resources among different groups or regions. These divides can manifest in various ways, such as difference in the quality of schools, teachers, expertise, availability of learning materials, and access to technology. These disparities can limit opportunities for individuals or communities, particularly in terms of social and economic mobility, as they may not have the same educational advantage as others. Bridging this divide is crucial for promoting quality and ensuring that everyone has a fair chance to succeed through education.
Economics. Economics inequality, both within and between countries, has been a significant driver on the global divide. Some regions have experienced rapid economic growth, while others have remained buried in poverty and underdevelopment, and this can also be an umbrella terms for income inequality or distribution of income, the wealth inequality and distribution of wealth and consumption. So, structural economic factors, the global economic system, including the trade policies, debt burdens, and financial institution, can contribute to the perpetuation of economic disparities of even the technological factors. The main idea of new structural economic is the economic structures, including the structure of technology and industry, which determines labor, productivity, and hard and soft interaction.
The North and the South. The North-South divide signifies significant economic, social, and political gaps between two groups of countries. The North comprises developed nations primarily in the Northern Hemisphere, known for advanced economies and high living standards. The South includes less developed nations, mainly in the Southern Hemisphere, facing economic challenges, underdevelopment, and limited access to services. Historical roots. Historical factors including colonialism and imperialism have left lasting imprints on this divide. Colonial empires from northern nations extracted wealth and resources from the south, contributing to ongoing disparities. Economic factors, economic issues such as trade imbalances and debt burdens sustain the gap. Trade policies and global economic structures often favor northern countries, limiting southern economic growth. Social disparities. The divide extends to social aspects like education, healthcare, and clean water access. Southern countries frequently struggle to provide these basic services to their populations. Geopolitical influence. Geopolitical power imbalances further entrench the divide. Major global institutions are often dominated by northern nations, influencing policies and aid distribution. Efforts to address the North-South divide involve strategies at national and international levels, including failed trade practices, development aid, and rectifying historical injustices. The goal is to promote economic and development, reduce poverty, and ensure equitable access to resources and opportunities, fostering a more balanced global community.
So good day. I'm here to discuss about what is the difference between the third world and global south. So in my part, I'm going to be discussing the global south, while the third world is Koyamar. So the global south it emerged after the Cold War era and primarily in academic and development context to describe countries that face similar economic, social, and political challenges, are often characterized by lower levels of economic development, lower income, and a historical legacy of colonization. Unlike the Third World, the Global South is not tied to Cold War geopolitics and emphasizes a broader understanding of global inequalities. Global South is a more inclusive and politically correct term used today to discuss issues related to development, inequality, and global geopolitics. It is often used in discussions about international development, trade, and human rights to emphasize the challenges faced by less economically developed countries. Thank you.
Third World was originally coined during the Cold War era to categorize countries based on their alignment with either Western Bloc, the First World, or the Eastern Bloc, the Second World. Third World referred to the countries that were unaligned or non-aligned with either of these superpowers bloc. These countries were often newly independent nations, many of which were in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Third World was falling out of favor in many academic and diplomatic circles due to its historical connotations and oversimplification of complex global issues. The term Third World arose during the Cold War, and it was used to define the countries that remained non-aligned with either NATO or with Warsaw Pact. The United States, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Western Europe nation, and their allies represented the First World, while the Soviet Union, Cuba, North Korea, Vietnam, and their allies represented the Second World. The terminology provided a way of broadly categorizing the nation of the earth in three groups based on the political division. Due to the complex history, evolving meanings, and context, there is no clear or agreed upon definition of the Third World. Strictly speaking, Third World is political rather than an economic grouping.
So my topic is how does a new conceptual of global nations emerge from the experience of Latin American countries. So in order for the rest of Latin American countries to have influence in the world, they have to unite in a single trading blocks, and they are not industrialized or diversified enough in order for this happen. And so the American migrants move out as the individuals, and they have a quasi westernized even the view the word even the view of the world. So the overwhelming majority of them end ups so the being influenced by the western nation in which they are settled. They are settled down, not the other ways around of the western. So the word national identities are so strong the seldom up influencing everything if at all.